The kid bent down, brushing snow off a leather wallet half buried in the slush. He looked around, empty street, engines echoing faintly in the distance. Inside was a thick roll of cash, a silver badge, and a tattooed face staring from a photo, skulls, wings, and the words Hell's Angels. Minutes later, he was at a gas station, handing it to the clerk with a shy smile. But what he didn't know was that wallet belonged to a man whose name made entire towns go silent. In less than 12 hours, that man would come looking for him. Have you ever done the right thing, only to find out it might cost you everything? Tell us in the comments. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. It was a freezing night in a small Montana town. The kind where headlights vanished into falling snow and silence felt heavier than the air. 16-year-old Jordan Carter had just finished his shift at the diner, his hands numb from washing dishes, his jacket too thin for the cold. He was the kind of kid most people overlooked, polite, quiet, trying to save every dollar to help his mom pay rent. The diner sat on the edge of Highway 93, the last stop before miles of dark forest. Truckers came and went, leaving behind the smell of gasoline and old coffee. Jordan stayed late that night, sweeping floors and humming to himself, not knowing that a simple walk home would tie his name to one of the most feared biker clubs in America. As he crossed the parking lot, he spotted something half buried near the curb, a wallet, black leather, heavy and worn. No ID was visible, just a silver patch and a few $100s inside. He hesitated. That kind of cash could mean groceries for weeks, new boots for his mom, maybe even heat for their small apartment. But something in him wouldn't allow it. He zipped it into his pocket, planning to drop it off at the gas stations lost and found on his way home. What Jordan didn't know was that the wallet's owner wasn't just any biker passing through. He was the president of a Hell's Angels chapter, known for violence and vengeance. As snow thickened around him, Jordan walked on, his breath visible in the icy air, unaware that a single act of honesty had just placed him in the crosshairs of something much bigger than he could imagine. If you were in his place, what would you do? Keep it or turn it in? Tell us in the comments. Jordan woke early the next morning to the sound of heavy engines outside their apartment. At first, he thought it was snowplows. Then came the low rumble of bikes, deep, synchronized, powerful. He looked through the frosted window and froze. A line of motorcycles stretched down the block, their chrome glinting in the pale winter light. Men in leather jackets stood around, tattoos crawling up their necks, the red and white Hell's Angels patch glowing on their backs. His mom. Denise peeked from behind the curtain, confusion turning to fear. "Jordan, what did you do?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind replayed last night, the wallet, the badge, the cash, and the gas station clerk who had promised to handle it. At that same moment, across town, a man named Ray Grinder Lawson was tearing through a diner parking lot, furious. His wallet had been returned, but the money was gone, and someone had left it at a station without a name. Grinder was a man whose rules were simple: loyalty, respect, payback. And right now, he felt disrespected. By noon, rumors spread fast in their small town. People whispered about the Angels, asking questions. Someone had seen them at the gas station. Another claimed they had a name. Jordan's name. He tried to stay calm, shoveling the steps outside their building, pretending everything was normal. But when he saw the black SUV roll to a stop across the street, not bikes this time, but men in suits, his stomach tightened. The police. 2 officers stepped out, asking for a Jordan Carter. They questioned him about the wallet, their tone sharp, eyes skeptical. To them, a black teenager with no car, no money, and a biker's wallet looked suspicious. They didn't believe his story about finding it. They searched his bag, his pockets, his small apartment. Denise tried to explain, her voice trembling, but one officer kept his hand on his holster, like honesty was a threat. The neighbors watched from behind curtains as Jordan stood in the snow, humiliated. A boy who had done the right thing, now treated like a criminal. The officers left eventually, muttering about ongoing investigations. But the damage was done. Word spread. The kid who stole from the Angels. That night, Denise sat silently at the table, staring at the untouched dinner. "Maybe we should leave town," she said softly. Jordan shook his head. "I didn't do anything wrong," he whispered. But even he didn't sound convinced anymore. He didn't know that just beyond the streetlight, hidden in the dark, a man on a bike was watching their window, waiting. The knock came just after midnight. 3 short raps, sharp, deliberate. Denise startled awake, heart pounding. Jordan stood, frozen halfway down the hallway. Then came a voice, low and gravelly. "We just want to talk." Outside, 6 bikers stood in the snow, their engines still running, exhaust curling like smoke from a battlefield. At the center was Grinder, broad, scarred, his face half hidden beneath a wool cap. He held the same wallet Jordan had returned, its leather cracked and wet from the cold. Jordan stepped outside before his mother could stop him. The men watched him closely, a mix of suspicion and something darker. Grinder flipped open the wallet. "You the one who dropped this off?" he asked. Jordan nodded slowly. "I found it. Didn't take anything." Grinder stared at him for a long, silent moment, then tossed the wallet into the snow between them. "Then tell me why the cash is gone." Jordan's breath fogged in the air. "I didn't touch it," he said again, voice trembling. But truth wasn't enough here. The men laughed, a cold, humorless sound that cut through the wind. One stepped forward, towering over him. "You think we believe that, kid?" The world seemed to close in. Engines revved. A crow cawed in the distance, the sound eerie in the still night. For a second, Jordan thought this was it, that he'd never see daylight again. But then, from the corner of the street, flashing lights appeared. The same officers from before, returning after a new tip from the gas station clerk. The bikers turned, tension snapping in the air. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Grinder's jaw tightened, his eyes never leaving Jordan's. Then, without a word, he motioned to his men. They mounted their bikes and disappeared into the darkness, engines howling like thunder. Jordan stood there shaking, the wallet still half buried in snow. The officer approached, demanding explanations again, accusing eyes fixed on him. To them, he wasn't a kid who had done the right thing. He was a suspect, caught between criminals and cops. As the sirens faded and silence returned, Jordan realized something painful. Doing the right thing didn't always mean you'd be treated right. What do you think will happen next? Will the truth finally come out? Or will the blame fall on him again? Tell us your thoughts below. The next morning, the street was empty. No bikes, no flashing lights, just snow covering the tire tracks and footprints like the night before had never happened. But for Jordan, nothing felt the same. His mom barely spoke, her eyes red from worry. Word of what happened had spread across town. The kid who crossed the Angels, the thief, the liar. 2 days later, a knock came again. This time it was quieter. When Jordan opened the door, Grinder stood there alone. No jacket, no crew. He looked different, tired, thoughtful. He handed Jordan an envelope, thick and sealed, but his tone was low, calm. "Clerk confessed," he said. He skimmed the cash before turning it in. "You were clean." Jordan stared, speechless. Grinder nodded once, his rough voice barely above a whisper. "You did right, kid. Don't let the world make you forget that." Then he turned and walked away, boots crunching through snow until he vanished into the pale morning fog. Inside the envelope was the missing cash, and a note written in messy, ink-smudged handwriting. "Respect is earned, not feared." For the first time in days, Jordan smiled. But the scar of the experience stayed. The way people had looked at him, the way the police had doubted him, the way truth had meant nothing against the weight of assumptions. He learned something that week, that sometimes the hardest part of doing good isn't the act itself, but surviving how the world reacts to it. Because in a town where skin color still decides who's trusted and who's questioned, even honesty can look suspicious. So tell me, what would you have done if you were Jordan? Would you still return that wallet knowing what it could cost you? Show some love with a like and subscribe to stay inspired.